So speaking of all this terminology, especially utilizing it as a comedian, obviously the terms safe space, trigger warning, social justice, these kind of terms have been used so much now in the culture wars, especially by critics of these people. Or I would say about the past 10 years, nearly the past 10 years, when this stuff started to kind of get popular on the internet and in culture and even in the United States. Are you finding that some of the material now are continuously talking about it from a comedic perspective is becoming slightly dry? Are people kind of too used to hearing jokes now about safe spaces, about social justice warriors? Do you think we're kind of entering kind of a new cultural shift to where now these people are in power in all of our institutions across so many countries that now it's like just complaining about it or making jokes about it is kind of dull and we have to come up with new material?
That might be true. Also, I think there is a real shift, at least in the Anglo-Saxon world, where people actually protest against these policies and ideas. When your Supreme Court just a few weeks ago got rid of affirmative action, and allow the culture to refocus on meritocracy, I would say that's a step in the right direction.
Right.
And I hear that a lot of Fortune 500 companies are now reducing their DEI workforces. So one might say that you're undergoing something. What one can see victory on the horizon for you guys.
Maybe we had to reach like rock bottom. And now, because we're so down in the dirt, now there's no choice but for us to go up.
Oh, trust me, you are so far from rock bottom. Come stay in Sweden for a year. So yeah, our girls in school perform very well, and our boys perform extremely poorly. And that, I think, has to do with policy and the way they have rearranged education to benefit the female sex. And after a while, you can see the curve for the girl goes up, and the curve for the boys goes down when it comes to average, grading. But after long enough, both curves go down.
Do you think that's all, obviously I don't, speaking of another woke joke, I don't think you're a biologist. I know that was a big thing, a year ago. But I know that usually there are studies that show that just boys, especially when they're growing up, are just inherently, they don't like to comply with certain boxes and codes, while women are a little more, especially during that early development stage, are usually able to learn and obtain information through that system in a much better way.
Women are more mature. I have Pinker here. It's on my desk, actually. With some other traits, the differences are small on average, but can be large at the extremes. That happens for two reasons. When two bell curves partly overlap, they have different normal distributions.
Right.
The sexes. And on average, there's not much difference between men and women. But at the extremes, the difference is huge. And if you have a lot of choice, for instance, here in Sweden, you can observe a phenomenon we have termed the gender paradox. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
But essentially, you can do you can do how much policy you want in schools. Try to get girls more interested in math, boys more interested in nursing. But when they get out into real life, if they are free to choose,
they adapt right back to their traditional gender roles.
Precisely. So you see domination of men in construction work, and you see more women in caring professions.
Right. I've heard the same claim that in times of scarcity, the same thing happens. In times of crisis and emergency, you have women that go back to the naturally more feminine roles, and males go back to the entirely more masculine roles. And I think that's true. We have We have Jesse Cruz here in the comments saying that's biology, man. And I think that's very true. And I think that's a form of science that I think more skeptics and advocates of free thought need to kind of embrace. We don't always have to. Obviously, we should question everything, but simultaneously, there are parts of science that naturally might look politically more conservative or politically more traditional.
Well,
but if we really are advocates of science, we should just embrace that and be okay with that.
Just because something is natural doesn't mean it's inherently good. I mean, murder is natural in all human societies. We don't see it as a moral good just because it's natural.
Right.
I'm just saying that if we deny nature, then whatever policy solution you come up with will fail.